because it's just an interpretation. Okay? You're trying to say something and sometimes the words don't fit. But you say it anyway because that's the way it's going to work. So, if the texts are simply approximations of what you're trying to say, why would you take anything that's being said to you as an essential statement? What we do in psychology is break down each one of those words to come down to the most favorable, most favored meaning to whomever is speaking. What is your preferred meaning of what you're saying? The danger of that is that when you start asking people what is it that you really want, you find out that the people in the fringes of society do not want the same things that the people at the core want. So guys like me become incredibly dangerous because we're challenging the whole system through psychology, no less. So by the time someone walks out of my session, they have a very different view of the world. Their view, their personal, individual view of what the world is like.
And they become made conscious of their view.
So you create insight.
Not limitation.
Yes, you create insight and they can make up their own minds. That's what deconstruction is all about, right? And more.
Stuck a label on it for him.
See, that's,
Can we turn the camera off?
so, let me finish up here for a second because we talked about the DSM-4.
Oh, right.
Okay, the DSM-4 is a little book that is financed by the psychopharmacological industry. The American Psychological Association, or whatever is the APA. These guys get millions of dollars to publish this little book. And this book is just the result of a whole bunch of guys who get together in California and meet up. So if you got the money for the ticket, you get your stuff in there. Does that mean that's natural? No. It's probably normal, but not natural. Right? Natural refers to, I hook up with you from the heart, I can feel your emotions, and I agree with you, and I'm willing to work with you. Normal is a bunch of psychologists getting together and saying, I believe that if you have schizophrenia, these are the symptoms. Okay?
Exactly.
Well, the norm is the average, right? And if that's what the average is.
And the
So
biggest crime is the diagnosis.
So every prophet in the Bible would be schizophrenic. And so the Bible should be thrown out because they're all schizophrenic.
Well, it was
No, I wouldn't throw the Bible away. I would just say that's an interpretation of the world.
No, I mean
I read that in
based on
Time
the
magazine.
DSM-4,
On the DSM-4,
because they were all talked to by God,
And
and
they
if you
had
have God
visions.
talking to you,
That's right.
then you're schizophrenic.
well, if
You have
if you
thoughts
were
of grandeur.
if you were to use the DSM-4 on Adam and Eve, then if you look at the snake that was eating the apples and all that, then all of a sudden you kind of come out with these guys must have had some pretty bad Thai weed when they wrote this. Right?
Yeah, well, that too, but I mean, just, I read that in Time magazine a couple of years ago. They're like, Mark, Luke, and Matthew, or all the people who, profess to have a dream, and then people acted on it. Like, all those people would have been considered so crazy today.
look at Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc.
Yeah, she's.
But let me just take it back to diagnosis for a second, because I really wanted to finish that thought. So you understand that the DSM-4 is all hype. And it really, for people doing the work in psychological assessments and evaluations, is worthless. It's the biggest piece of shit ever. Okay?
Yeah, well, that's probably why the social workers are using it.
That's because they fit their brain.
It gets
So-
gets them what they want.
Look, have you ever seen a movie? Like when you walk into a projection room, you see this roll of film? Let's just say for a moment, that's your life. You open this film, the diagnosis from the DSM-4 is one slide of your life. But is that your life?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Is that what you're all
Yeah.
about?
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
that's just like walking into a courtroom and hearing about yourself for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and then them basing that the rest of, well, not the rest of your life because we'll never stop fighting,
Yeah.
but the next 4 years of your life,
Sure.
let's say,
Yeah.
is based around the 5 minutes that social worker and
Yeah.
that lawyer gets a chance to spill their guts. Or
So let's say if I were watching a movie like The House on the Lake, and if I just got the film and saw one slide and I say, yeah, this is a great movie, man. That's stupid, right? Don't forget the psychiatrists are nothing more than GPs who took a couple of semesters in psych.
Mm-hmm.
Our field, all of us who are shrinks, we got at least 8 years of university on psychology alone,
Mm-hmm.
not a couple of semesters. And the only difference between a psychiatrist and what we do is that those guys are allowed to prescribe drugs. So,
Which I wouldn't want to be able to do anyway.
no, because you're dealing with the symptoms, it's not
Yeah.
dealing with the problem. And that's what we do.
And you're not teaching them how to resolve it themselves. Learning
Problems
the
are supposed to be solved.
Mhm.
They're
And
not, they're not supposed to be numbed.
there are means and practices to help people
Sure.
with their psyche.
Getting back to the question of deconstruction and the differences between deconstruction and behavioral or Skinnerian thought, which is was the brainchild of Skinner, who's the biggest proponent of behaviorism. Okay, the biggest difference between deconstruction and Skinnerian thought is that in deconstruction, what you're looking for is insight. Using dialectics, using didactical methods, where if you can say black, it's because you know that the word white is out there, so otherwise you couldn't say them. So you have to know both to understand the world. Behavioral means you do it my way, and I'll give you a coin, I'll give you a candy. That shit works really well with monkeys. It doesn't work with human beings because Skinner, one of the biggest proponents in psychology, forgot that psychology is a science of personal differences. Therefore, you cannot treat everybody, if I give you a token, you're going to do that. Some people are going to say, screw your tokens, I don't want them.
Can we have an example of how social workers actually do that?
Social workers, for example, they will decide that if you don't stop drinking, I will take your children away.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
If you don't stop saying that we are undereducated, then we will cancel your visit.
There you go. So, but if you say that would be the Skinnerian model, the behavioral model. If you do this, this will happen to you. In deconstruction, we will get to the bottom. If you're drinking, let's find out how come you're drinking. What brought you to drinking? What systems in society failed you that led you to drink? What residential school fucked you over so badly you wound up drinking?
Get to the root.
So the problem, yeah, you get to the root. So in deconstruction, you are asking your client, like a good little social worker, right? You ask him, if you were a good one, you would ask him, what is your interpretation of what happened to you? But on the present model, guided by behavioral modification systems expressed by Skinner, the social worker is nothing more than a little fascist saying, you do it my way or else.
So, who are some examples of deconstruction so that people can learn about it?
The at the foremost is at the forefront. I mean, is Jacques Derrida.
How do you spell his last name?
D as in David, E-R-R-I-D-A. He's the one who questioned texts and made it clear to everyone that every textbook is just an interpretation of the world, including the damn Bible.